Joining him, we also have Mr. Witty Bindra. He leads Pan IIT US and he's a Pan IIT USA chair. He's a seasoned global technology executive with a proven track record in driving digital transformation. As a global business executive for Microsoft Alliances and a strategic advisor for Kyndryl India, the world's largest IT infra service provider, serving thousands of customers in more than 60 countries, he shapes the company's strategic directions and fosters deep partnership with Fortune 100 leaders. His extensive experience, including leadership positions in Singapore, UK, Australia, Germany, New Zealand, India, and US, has equipped him with a unique perspective. In 1995, he received the Confederation of British Industry Scholarship to train in the UK. He sits in the editorial advisory committee of trade magazine Geosynthetics and has published several papers on the same. He is also an IIT Delhi alumni. So these names don't really need an introduction. People like me grew up hearing your name, sir. I know that you also have achievements that are not listed in your bio. Like I know you were one of the first people, Witty sir, to serve in the army. I think you were one of the first Sikh peoples to serve, if I remember correctly. Correct. And Arjun sir, you are a founder of Speak Make as well, along with HCL and the Shivnada Foundation, which continues to perpetuate the legacy that you and Roshni ma'am have built, right?
So, good evening once again. I'd like to start with Arjun Malhotra, who and I were together on a startup company called Akar Innovations, and we were together on the board of this company, trying to solve the problem of creating sustainable, compostable sanitary napkins produced by the women in rural areas and to create employment for them. So we tried working on multiple areas of problems. So, question to you, Arjunji, is what advice would you give to your former self and to aspiring entrepreneurs seeking to scale and sustain momentum in a fragmented market? What is your advice to entrepreneurs?
Hello, yeah. If I can understand the question a little, when you say a fragmented market, you're talking about a market that's scattered all over the country or geographically or?
Both. It's unorganized, scattered around the country.
So you have to do things in a different way. I mean, that's our biggest challenge in India. When you try to solve a problem, I work with another NGO called Antara Foundation that's trying to address the issue of infant mortality, automatically includes maternal health and malnutrition. And we find that every 100 miles or some such distance, you can solve the problem, but the social the social activity or the social norms that they have are different. So your solution has to adapt to those social norms. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And it's not that I can take one solution that works for the whole country or even works for a state. It's got to adapt itself to the social norms that exist in different areas. There are parts of India where if you deliver a baby, you can't breastfeed it till the father-in-law sees the baby. Now, if the father-in-law is traveling, I mean, what do you do? So and then when you're trying to solve the problem of infant mortality, that's one of the things you've got to solve. So it is a challenge in India on how you look at problems that go into rural areas, because the variables that you deal with are very different and change not from state to state, but from actually district to district or even shorter than that. And so there is no one solution. I think you've got to look at your issue, look at the problems, and then work a solution that is flexible enough to be adapted, keeping in mind social norms. It's interesting. The other thing, at least when you're doing problems in the rural areas, is first of all, you have no credibility when you come from the city. They'll listen to you, they're very polite, but after you leave, it'll go back to what it was. So you've got to find a way to get the community to get involved. If the community gets involved, then there's a very good chance that solution will be adopted by them and taken by them. And a good example is when we went to Rajasthan, we were trying to identify women who were pregnant so that we could tell them, don't carry a bucket of water, whatever norms you had. No one would talk to us. I mean, I can't go talk to a potential mother-in-law and say, is your daughter-in-law pregnant? I mean, she's not going to tell me. But we found that girls who were studying in school in class 9 and class 11, class 10 and 12 had exams, became our army to get that information. And because they were getting educated, a lot of these quote-unquote mother-in-laws who weren't educated would listen to them. And so they became the army that went out and did the education. And the reason they did that is most of them want to live in the village, but they want a better quality of life. And so this was part of training them. The A&W, the auxiliary nurse midwife would train them, and they would go out. Now that's the solution we did in Rajasthan. When we went to Madhya Pradesh, and you go to a tribal district, it's completely different, because the girls are not getting educated. So you have to find a different way to address the same problem, right? So I'm just saying, India is not a homogeneous country. We have, and so every market, at least when you go to rural areas, is pretty fragmented. And you've got to really look at things very differently.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malhotra. Over to you, Mr. Bindra. I'll repeat the question. What is your advice that you would like to give to your former self? I know you've been in the entrepreneurial journey, and to aspiring entrepreneurs seeking to scale and sustain momentum in a fragmented market.
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all. So before I go ahead, Arjun is my mentor also, so I've learned everything from Arjun. Yeah, so thank you. So I left India long back. After my graduation at IIT Delhi, I left India. So I have not done any startup in India, but I was lucky to get a startup in the US, right? And my journey was 7 years I ran the startup, and I had a successful basically exit from the startup. So when I look at the US market, again, I'm sorry, I don't have an experience in the Indian market, but when I look at the US market, what I should advise to the budding entrepreneurs, or when I... Mic is not working, mic. Okay, can you hear me now? So what advice I can give the budding entrepreneurs here is like, what I have figured out is like, entrepreneur journey is a very exciting, very interesting. We really everybody wants to be a CEO of a company, a startup company. But that's not very simple. There are a lot of hardships. There are a lot of roadblocks. So 3 things were there. The first one was the problem statement. What I did was, I was in the energy market. I live in Houston. It's the energy capital of the world. And I was in the energy market, and I saw where is the gaps. The gaps was when the oil rig is running. So roughly they spend close to $100,000 a day to run that rig. And all the data coming from the rig. So the point was how much oil they are extracting. Is it more than $100,000 or no? So that data used to go to the decision maker in 7 to 10 days, 7 days time. And the rig is running every day. So imagine if there are 10 rigs running. They have already spent $10 million in 10 days in 10 rigs, and they have made a big loss. So what I did was very basic engineering. I got my team together, got IoT devices, put on the rigs, collect the data, take it on the cloud, analyze the data. And within 24 hours, we are sending this Power BI dashboard reports to the C-suite guys for Schlumberger, Exxon, Halliburton, Chevron, to give them the clear picture what's happening at the rig. And it was not a rocket technology. Putting these devices for $2, $3 each, collecting the data, analyzing the data using my folks in Hyderabad, my engineers sitting in Hyderabad, and sending it to the dashboards. I was very successful, extremely successful. Then the second thing was the predictive maintenance of these rigs. So you have to see when this was serviced, is the electric circuit is working there, the basic things. That also with the IoT devices I was able to make out and gave them the clear picture. Okay, look, this rig will stop working in next 3 months if we don't do 1, 2, and 3 things. That becomes a big hit. So I had a very successful startup. I ran it for 7 years, and due to health reason, I just sold it. I had a very good exit, And then I went back to Microsoft and IBM, and now I run the. So my advice to the budding entrepreneur is, first of all, look at the problem statement. If you have a problem in any company, try to look for the answer for that statement. Don't tell them what all you know. Don't give them a pitch of 10 different things. Just look at their problem and try to come up with the innovative solution, and the money will follow you. It happened in my case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bindra. Thank you. Over to the second question, second and the last question, Mr. Malhotra. Looking ahead to the next 5 to 10 years, what emerging trends or technologies do you see having the most significant impact on India's entrepreneurial ecosystem, and how can entrepreneurs in India prepare for these changes?
Okay, I did sort of answer this question in my earlier session in some way, but let me say first thing is AI. And not just AI, but solutions from AI that are effective in our environment. We have a lot of problems that are specific to India. I think today we have a large enough market that we can build products or solutions that could address those. You know, I think, I don't know how many of you remember a company called iFlex that actually did banking software for India. Now, I know when I was in HCL, we got banking software from Kapiti, from Hogan, from a whole lot of people, and we tried to implement them in big banks like State Bank, 100% failure. Yet, but iFlex looked at that, realized that what the banking system in a country like India needed was very different to what they were doing in the US or in Europe or Western Europe, and actually built a system that was effective. In fact, Oracle bought them and took them all over the world to the developing markets, where that was an effective system. So wherever, I mean, I've been asked this question a lot of times, that why didn't the IT industry develop products? Develop products if your domestic market is not large enough, and if you don't have enough marketing in, let's say, the US. If you keep yourself at a low overhead, not put enough marketing people there, don't know what the market needs, how are you going to develop a product? Right, a lot of what we did were assets that were developed because we did work for, say, 10 insurance companies, and we sort of understood what the issues were and built a macro or something that actually helped them, but never a product. Today, our domestic market in IT, for example, is large enough. Today, I think you will see products coming out of this market. I do believe that 3 industries in India are infinite. Infinite defined in commas: healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Right? It all depends what you want to play in. Healthcare and education are a little easier to play in because they're quicker returns than infrastructure, which goes on for much longer, requires much larger investments, has to be looked at very differently. But yeah, just think about it. I mean, what all can you do in those 2 markets? I mean, the education someone mentioned is sort of persona non grata right now because of some of the problems that have happened. But it is still an infinite market in India. If you can do proper education for village kids, if you can replace those teachers who take salaries and don't come to the village school, right? It is something that will be huge. And we have a number of point solutions. The problem in India is if you want to go national, you have to work with government. There's no way, at least in area like education, that you can go national without having government involved in some way. And that puts a headache to a lot of people, stops a lot of VCs from funding you because they don't like the unpredictability that government brings to this whole thing. But yeah, that's what I feel. So when you look at it, I think healthcare, you can look at, this whole genetics. Someone talked about longevity. Someone talked about, other things that you can get from genetics. In fact, a company I'm on the board of, IIT Kharagpur alum, organized, founded, called Map My Genome. Yeah. So they have actually now given they've just produced a paper that connects longevity with the Indian physiology, genetics, and hopefully, they think that they'll be able to sell products that will try and help people look at their genetic makeup and say what they should and shouldn't do to have a longer, healthier life. Right? You're going to see these things come up. Earlier, we were dependent on data from the Framingham experiment in 1948, which really had Caucasians as the people on whom the experiment was done. And a lot of norms that they follow in the US, like fasting blood sugar being 100, anything above that you're considered a potential diabetic. The number in India is 120. So I'm sort of just above 100. My doctor for the last 20 years has been telling me I'm a potential diabetic. I'm telling there's no diabetic in my family. I haven't changed my lifestyle. That number is not going up. My HB1C or whatever is absolutely fine. I think he's finally accepted that I'm not a potential diabetic.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Bindra. The same question, I'll repeat again. Looking ahead to the next 5 to 10 years, what emerging trends or technologies do you see having the most significant impact on India's entrepreneurial ecosystem? And how can Indian entrepreneurs prepare for these changes?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. So now I'm fully into the technology ecosystem with the Kyndryl spun off IBM. It's the largest IT managed services company in the world with 90,000 employees, and we are serving 4,000 customers in 60 countries. So we are highly focusing on technology. So again, my 2 cents here are like the whole ecosystem here. You have to pick up a technology, whether it is quantum computing, artificial intelligence, that is the future. How the technology will make an impact on the societal changes. We Indian, we have very smart people. We are extremely smart. I meet a lot of people overseas. I'm managing 42 countries. I meet a lot of people. But AI, 95% of people don't know what they will do with AI. People talk about AI day and night. What does AI do for you? So AI readiness is not even there in most of the countries. Application, they're just using ChatGPT. That is not AI. We are just scratching the surface. So my advice to the entrepreneurs here will be work on the technology, pick up one technology. Right now it's coming AQ, artificial intelligence quantum computing combination, which is Arvind Krishna, chairman, IBM is really promoting. That is the future. Pick up one technology, trying to develop some solution around that technology and implement it and show to the people like this is the application of the technology. And then you can take the technology from the region to the global level. That's what Israel is doing. That's what small countries are doing. So I fully believe technology is a way to go forward. I think use any technology, build some ecosystem, build an application, build something concrete to show to the world, POC, MVP, and do the runs in this country and then take it to the global level and people accept it. And that's the future. Next 10 years, quantum and AI is a hockey stick. It's going like this. In next 2-3 years, it will just, Google and Microsoft has spent billions and billions of dollars in this technology. And there are no returns right now, but they have to come. So right now is a good time to capture the technology, understand it, and use it and prove to the world what this technology can do for you and the other people.
Thank you. I'm in fact right now doing strategic advisory work with a company in the quantum communication area and more on the post-quantum communication, PQC. And its major application is in the area of military-grade cybersecurity. Just to give you an idea, we are looking at an opportunity. A national quantum mission has just been formed, headed by a colleague of Mr. Malhotra, Mr. Ajay Chaudhary. Dr. Ajay Chaudhary is the one who is now chairman of that commission. We are looking at an opportunity of, I'm not joking, a few $1 billion in India in the next couple of years. And if you just look at India wanting to export both product and software and as a end-to-end solution providing, we are looking at close to $300 billion market opportunity by the next 3 years. So if all of you want to learn, India has less than, I believe, I may be wrong, less than 250 people who understand PQC. And there are hardly any institutes really teaching PQC right now. Thank you very much.
Before we open for audience questions, I have a question, and it's for all three of you, sir. So, considering you've all done remarkable work in your respective fields, what's one achievement that each of you is most proud of? I think we'll start with Arjun, sir.
You know, I think my biggest achievement is, after being on the field with HCL 25 days a month, I still have a family. I think that's right. And I just, well, a couple of months ago, finished 53 years of being married.
Whoa.
And yeah.
That is huge.
I really think that's my biggest achievement. But, you know, I mean, I'm being a little flippant there, but I think what really gives me satisfaction is, you know, when you work with some of these NGOs, let's put it this way, with Antara, you know, I think just being able to save one life is worth more than what you've done your whole life. You know, it's amazing.
Over to you, Mr. Bindra.
Yeah, so biggest achievement, very good question, in fact. So I personally think when you, like, I'm from middle class family, and we just had education with us, and we went overseas. And when Chief of Naval Staff calls you from Wellington to Auckland in New Zealand, tell Mr. Bindra, we want to commission you as officer, that's a big achievement as an Indian. So the whole country, the Prime Minister of the country, Helen Clark, gave me the commission. And I became the first Sikh to be commissioned by the Royal New Zealand Navy. At that time, Government of India sent me a letter. So that was a big achievement for me and for Indians to be proud of, that no matter we wear a funny hat and have a beard, but if you can add value to the ecosystem, whether it is white skin or brown skin, they appreciate you for that. So I was very touched by, and today also when I go back to New Zealand, the Kiwis, so they address me like officer. Sir, welcome home. Because I carry the New Zealand passport and American passport. But when I go back, they say, welcome home, sir. So that's an achievement, and we all can get that achievement when the foreigners start appreciating you and giving the credit for what you have done for them and for the society as a whole. So that was my achievement. Thank you.
Ajay, sir.
I have a mic. Some of you know, I spent approximately 35 years in my corporate life, on an average 250 days of travel every year globally. So like Mr. Arjun Malhotra, I am still married. I just celebrated my 40th anniversary. So in spite of the fact that I spent less than 100 days with my wife every year. Coming to more important thing, yes, like Mr. Bindra, when I was 28 years old, I was invited by Kingdom of Bhutan to directly work as an industry advisor. King Jigme Singh Wangchuk wanted me. This is the time when India was controlling Kingdom of Bhutan totally. China and India were at tiff. So I was in Thimphu. I just got married. A few months after our marriage, I was there. And I was involved with many achievements. Almost 2 years plus I spent. Set up hydel power plants, set up many bilateral agreements, made the first industrial policy of the country, etc., which made me get confident that I can work with the startup community. So I joined a startup company from France way back in 1987 and helped bring 100 plus technologies to India, or reconditioned plant and machinery, and set up those factories between 87 to 1991. I sat with unfortunately, Mr. Manmohan Singh and I sat together and wrote the FIPB policy of the country, etc. And then I helped 1,500 multinationals to set up their India operations as their India market entry advisor and India strategy advisor. So when I stepped down and looked back, I felt, what will I do if I retire? And I retired because of my too much of travel, health-related issues. So thanks to Startup India and my coinciding date in April 2016. So from that day till today, I love only 3 words: innovation, strategy, and technology. These are 3 words, and globalization. I've been involved with now more than 500 startups, and many people know me that I sit on the jury and mentor on an average 100 plus startups every year. Thank you.
So I just want to mention, I don't know how many of you have been to Thimphu in Bhutan, but the Indian embassy is the largest embassy there.
Yes.
They have a 9-hole golf course.
I know. Thank you.
Any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
No
please.
questions from the audience? Okay.
Good.
Sure.
You have one?
Hello. Question for. Hi, this is Akashmat. So my question is for Mr. Bindra. So, sir, there are a lot of founders who are eyeing on US markets. So, any advice for the go-to-market to US or something?
No, thank you for the question. I've been in the US for now 20 years. I lived in 6 different countries. So what I personally believe, my 2 cents is you have to understand the local and the regional needs. The product might be very successful in Mumbai, it might fail in Houston or New York. So my first advice will be, if you have the capability, have a joint venture with a local partner there. You make him your partner and you both can work together because he understands the market. For the GTM, go to market, it'll be much easier and quicker way to enter the market rather than trying to explore the market, trying to penetrate the market, sitting in Mumbai thinking about New York. It might take you 5 years, but that can be done in 5 months if you find a right partner to work with you and both of you 50-50 thing, whatever thing. So that's advice because go-to-market is, you can build a fantastic product, but if there's no GTM strategy, is a failure. And GTM strategy, you cannot build, no matter how intelligent you are. You don't know the local environment, the local governance, the local policies, what councils need. So these all information you have together, joining it with a local partner in that specific country.
Thank you.
Okay. We can take one
Just
more
want to
question
add
if
to
we have
that.
somebody.
Can I just
Yes,
add to
sir.
that? See, when I first went to the US, and this was way back in '89, in India you were used to sitting across the table with someone, reading body language to close an order. In the US you had to do it on the phone. It was completely alien to try and close an order on the phone when you can't read any body language or any of that. So I'm just giving you some local nuances that work. In India, if you ran into a problem, instead of going to the courts to try and solve it, you used to try and sit across the table and come to a compromise. In the US, you go legal. Right? So they're very different environments in which you operate. Right? So unless you know that, and it takes a fair amount of time to get to know it, you really can't sell to that market. Right? The other nice thing about the US is your payment come on time.
Yeah. Unlike in India. That's true.
One question.
Hello, sir. I mean, first of all, like I'm awestruck to know your details and all that. Very inspiring. So I'm Saurabh, building Chain.ai. These are the AI agents for user interaction over a video. So I just wanted to understand, like between US and India, like AI is obviously a hot topic. How much is the difference in terms of innovation that US is doing in general, and where are we with respect to US overall?
Right now, US and China, for example, are way ahead in terms of where they are. But I think our opportunity is if we can provide solutions that are relevant to us, which the US is not going to provide, in my view, then I think we have a great chance. Right? There are also, like, there was this gentleman, I didn't have a chance to talk to him, who talked about biotech and that fire that happened, and he lost, people lost their. So what happens in biotech is you got to get cultures, and they take about a month or so to actually germinate. And that's when you take decisions on what to do. At the Lawrence Livermore Lab near Berkeley, they have what is called an ALS, Advanced Light Source, where what takes 1 month, normally, they can do in less than 24 hours. And so when you talk about, I want to do research, someone And that's not a very, I mean, it's expensive. It's about $300 million is what they claim it costs to build. But we do need infrastructure like that if you want to go cutting edge in some of these new technologies. Right. And we are doing some very innovative work here. In fact, a mass spectrograph that actually costs $10 million in the US. There are people who think they can build it in India for less than $100,000.
Nominal.
Right. So we've got some of these things going on because we have to think of it in a more frugal way. I mean, the Nano was a massive, I mean, I don't know how to describe the impact it made in the US when people thought of a car for $2,000 that would be on the road. Right, that frugal engineering became a kind of a term that every MBA school was talking about. Right, we have that in India. Right, we have this concept of jugaad. We've lived in a society of limited resources, and we've had to find solutions with limited resources. And that mindset hopefully will not go away for a while. I can see it happening, but if we keep that mindset when we look at what we do, I think we'll go a great way. I know when I went to the US, we originally were in hardware. We had a 33 square foot facility at HCL. Then we moved into software. I didn't need that much space, so I subleased some of my space because there, when you sign a lease, you're stuck with it. You can't get out for a period of time. But one of the sublease companies was not doing too well. And you know, I used to talk to them. They leave their lights on at night. They do all sorts of things. I thought to myself, if this guy gives me his checkbook, I can extend his life by at least 6 months. That's because we come from India.
Just want to add one thing what Arjun said. I think absolutely right. I visit the Stanford AI facilities, SAFE, and MIT. I go there every month. I'm there doing some research. What research they are doing, they are top-level research they are doing. They're working on a very good POCs and MVPs and everything. But I'm 100% confident, and if that research has been done in India, we'll release it. We'll release version 1 of product within 1 month and get some results. So I'll give you example, a big example. I was in a conference, last conference, IIT conference in Washington, DC. I interviewed Arvind Krishna, fireside chat with him. And my question to him was, AI Watson came 20 years ago. IBM was a pioneer in AI. What happened? You lost it. I asked him on phrase, and he said, Witty, good question. What we did was we were looking to make a perfect product before releasing it. They waited for 7 years. By the time other companies were releasing product left and right, most of the Indian companies. So you don't wait for the perfect scenario, what America does. India is not doing that. So what that research is doing, if we can get something from them and release it in India, you'll be a hero. And that America is lacking. That India, what's a jugaad, chalne do, dekhte hain kya hota hai, baad mein dekhen. So they don't believe in that. We believe in that.
Thank you. Over to you.
All right. Thanks a lot to our Easter egg panelists as well as Ajay sir for moderating this session. I'd now like to invite Pradeep sir to give a vote of thanks as well as provide our esteemed guests with a token of appreciation from our end.